This week on X-Trex, Kirk's tatas, Mulder's yayas. These two are good for ha-has.
It's the Gamers Only episode. Welcome to X-Trex, a podcast where we introduce each other to our fandoms one episode at a time. I'm your host, Erin Cline, an X-Files spooky bitch.
And I'm your other host, Stella Cheeks, a slut for Star Trek the original series. Each podcast, we pick 2 episodes that fit a cinematic theme, watch them together, and then record our feelings.
Our theme this week is Gamers Only, with a Z.
That's how you know it's punk, or whatever. I've played like 5 video games in my life. Welcome to Triskelion. I will be your provider, but I am susceptible to both sex magic and computer talk to death magic. Sure, everything will be fine. Yes, that's right. We watched the season 2 classic, Gamesters of Triskelion, the oft-parodied and weirdly academically cited episode of Star Trek where Kirk and the gang are space gladiators, Kirk gets his literal shirt whipped off, and a baby woman's whole outlook on the universe is changed by one kiss from the captain. It's not great, but it is on theme, and there are worse episodes, so it's a wash. Plus, there's some light bondage, which is pretty good. Just saying.
And it's time, everyone, for the season 7 masterpiece first-person shooter. You know, the one that everyone either seems to love because it's super silly and weird, or absolutely fucking hate and cite as one of the worst episodes of this series and the quote-unquote beginning of the end. The one where a video game character in a VR shoot-'em-up becomes sentient and starts cutting off men's hands, and also the lone gunmen are there, and also Mulder almost dies inside a video game. Anyway, I love this episode. It's super dumb and also really fun. And everyone is honestly just having the weirdest time in this episode. And, you know, that's how a good video game should be. I don't know.
I don't know. Neither of us are gamers.
I watch people play video games.
That's why we play. We wrote it with a Z.
Anyway, you ready for digging in there, Mr. Spock?
Boy, are you ready for it?
I don't know.
Scott to bridge.
Spock here.
Mr. Spock, the captain, Lieutenant Uhura, and Chekhov, they vanished. They got onto the transporter platform and they just vanished.
I presume you mean they vanished in a manner not consistent with the usual workings of the transporter, Mr. Scott.
Aye, of course I mean that. You think I'd call you if they just beamed down?
Now for a quick-ish episode summary. Captain Kirk, Lieutenant Uhura, and Ensign Chekhov are kidnapped from the transporter pad on their way to inspect the unmanned Gamma 2 space station. Why those 3? Truly, who knows? But it's fun to mix it up sometimes, don't you think? The trio end up flat on their asses on a unique transporter pad under a trinary sun. Sus. Their comms don't work, and neither do their phasers, which sucks for them because a group of random aliens in Barbarella costumes have creeped out to attack them. Chekhov is picked up like a baby, Uhura is taken down by 2 opponents, and Kirk does a lot of little kicks but ultimately fails. Galt, a giant creep in a robe with no armholds, applauds their fighting spirit, welcomes them to Triskelion, where they will be thralls for the providers, and their fighting spirit will be bid on by Quatlus, which is totally an actual currency in space and definitely not weird made-up Monopoly monies. Totally. The trio are assigned drill thralls, who are tasked to break in and train the Starfleet officers. But you know, the Enterprise crew ain't no bitches, and they keep fighting back and getting shocked by their obedient colors. Seeing no other way to break free from their captivity, Kirk whips out the big guns. And yes, I do mean that as a euphemism. He uses all his sex magic to get Shauna, his very beautiful, dumbest rocks drill thrall, to question the ways of Triskelion and fall in love with him. And then he punches her right in the face. Meanwhile, back on the Enterprise, Spock, Bones, and their fill-in third, Scotty, are trying to figure out where the fuck the crew has been transported to. I knew that one would get you. Scotty assures Spock that absolutely fucking no way is it a problem with my transporter machine. I thank you very much. Bones and Scotty are convinced that the trio are back on Gamma 2, even though all the sensors indicate otherwise. The navigator in place of Chekhov finds a weird ion trail that cannot be accounted for, and Spock orders Scotty to follow that trail. Of course, Bones is pissy about it, as is his way, but Scotty also seems to disagree with Spock's choice. But Spock said, listen, hoes, unless you want to do a mutiny, I'm in charge, so warp factor 7 it is. And it turns out Spock is right. They arrive at Triskelion just in time to witness Kirk, Uhura, and Chekhov failing at escaping again. Kirk realizes that he can't sex magic in an unembodied voice, calls the providers cowards, and demands to see them. They're like, yeah, whatever, you keep forgetting that you have a shock collar on and can't hurt us, so sure, come on down. Kirk is transported thousands of miles under the surface where he's greeted by 3 sassy, colorful brains. Yep, the brains are the providers. Kirk sees this as an opportunity to monologue his way out of the situation because what are brains but nature's computers, after all? Kirk offers them a wager. He and his 2 officers will fight an equal number of thralls. If Kirk and his party win, the providers will teach the thralls to govern themselves because society's the greatest game of all, or something equally nonsensical or whatever. But if they lose, the entire Enterprise crew will become thralls, which would be endlessly entertaining because, well, the Enterprise, they're wild space freaks. The providers agree, stipulating that Kirk must battle 3 thralls alone, and Kirk is like, well, that's unfair, but yeah, I think I can do that. Spoiler, he absolutely does. He kills 2 thralls, injures a 3rd, and Shauna yields to him. The providers are pissed, but they are honorable little brains, and they let the thralls go. Shauna's like, take me with you, and Kirk has to awkwardly break up with her in front of Uhura and Chekhov with some fancy words and a kiss, but no punch this time. Chekhov has big goals vibes, while Uhura silently rolls her eyes because sure, the sex magic works, but it is annoying to watch. The Starfleet officers are beamed back onto the Enterprise, and Shanna is left crying and looking at the stars. I bet 1,000 quatloos that no one ever checks on Triskelion ever again.
They're like, we got away. We can't ever go back.
No, I'm sure they'll be fine.
That was a very good summary. Good job.
What did you think of this episode? It sure is an episode.
Sure is an episode. I think I enjoyed it. I feel like I enjoyed it because I enjoyed watching it with you guys, and it was like fun to like shit on it.
Yeah. It's not like so bad that you're like, ugh, offensive.
Yeah.
Like, because again, we've watched many ones where
Yes.
you're like, oh wow. And there are enough moments that are fun in it that like make it stupid fun. Like you can acknowledge like this is poorly written, this is bad. But I mean, we watched the Kiss and Punch twice. And
Of course we did.
People who haven't seen it are like, are we all laughing about her punching or him punching her in the face?
You
But,
really
like,
have to watch it.
You have to watch it. It's very funny.
It's really funny. And also, like, he brings it up to her later, and it's like, I'm really sorry. I didn't want to do that. And she's like, I kind of get it.
Yeah, I'm literally held captive. It's like nothing personal. Sorry, I punched you in the face. Goodbye forever.
Right? Don't get it twisted. You're not coming with me.
Yeah.
No. You have a lot you need to learn here.
Yeah.
In this place. Not up there.
Away from me.
Okay. The worst part of this episode was the Uhura, like, rape scene, basically,
Yeah.
which is not as intense as the, like, sexual assault of Yaman Rand, obviously, because that's, I think, the most fucked up. Hopefully, that we're
Yes,
going to
it
see.
is.
Okay, good.
The enemy within one where it's like evil Kirk or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, that one is deeply upsetting.
Yes, absolutely. And so, like, as the bar, like, it's definitely not that bad.
Yeah.
But it went on for, like, a long time.
Right. And at least that one we get Uhura, like, having beaten him back. Like, it's awful that we see it off stage and she's screaming. We just see the shadow and we see Kirk being like, what's happening to Uhura or whatever. And it is definitely meant to be like, hey, we're going to have sex now. Like,
Yeah.
you have been selected to be my mate. She does fend him off, and we don't see that again. And there's no, like, her clothes aren't ripped. And, like,
Right, yeah.
So, like, at least that is there.
Yeah, exactly. It's weird because it's like that. It went on for so long that it felt like it was going to turn into something much worse.
Right.
Or maybe even worse, just go totally unacknowledged. And so
Right.
I'm glad that they, like you said, they presented her as, like, not having been assaulted and him being like, you're not supposed to be able to do that. And then,
Yeah.
like, storming away. But, like, he had all of his clothes on. His shit wasn't ripped up either. Kirk seems fine. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, well, this is squicky and I don't like it.
She had,
but
like, a water pot or something in her hand that
Yeah.
she clearly, like, beat him. Again, this is still very bad, and it's, like, a throwaway scene to, like,
Yeah.
make you be like, oh, yeah, it's bad here. Slavery is bad.
Yeah, but that's the other part of it too, is that because it's a very obvious slavery analogy, like you have to include that.
Right.
Like it would be.
And they talk about it the whole time, like, oh, well, you might be selected as my mate.
Right.
And that's part of Kirk's, like, sex magic. He's like, but on my planet, you're free to choose. And wouldn't it be nice to choose me? Look at how handsome I am.
Oh,
Look
you
at
chose me by.
manly scars that I earned.
Yes, that's true. That's true. Yeah, it's I don't know. I think honestly, as an analogy or a metaphor towards slavery, it's actually pretty well done, but it's weird and it feels like this came out of fucking nowhere.
Yeah.
I'm glad that they did it, especially for the 60s. Like, I don't know. It's strange.
I feel like the slavery part gets overshadowed a lot when people talk about this episode because this episode is bad. Yeah, and like there's a woman in a Barbarella costume with like big eyes being like, "What are the stars?" And Chekhov being like afraid of his like drill thrall, which like that
scene was excellent.
Yeah.
I liked Timoon a lot.
She's Chekhov. I don't know. That scene always like is weird to me because I'm like, what is being presented here? Because like that character is played by a woman, but also is like kind of coded as a drag queen, and Chekhov is like so nervous, and so I'm like, is this like him being nervous to flirt with a girl, or is this like a gross scene?
It felt sort of gross. It felt like I thought it was I find you unattractive. I didn't actually think she was coded like a drag queen.
Oh, see, it always reads like that to me. So so it's always like hit transphobic for me.
Oh, I didn't read it that way. I thought that she was just like
he was just like, I prefer the one with the green hair, not the orange eyebrows.
Yeah, like she was like bigger and like thick and muscular. I thought it was just he was like, oh, you're unattractive.
Yeah.
Not.
I mean, it's not great either way.
Yeah, neither of them are good, but I definitely didn't see. I can see how you could read it that way. That was not personally how I saw it. I think that's probably why I enjoyed that scene so much too, because it was like, this is weird, but like
Chekhov is a fuckboy for sure, and he definitely has higher standards than he should.
Yes, that's what it felt like. It was like, oh, you went to a frat party and you were like, I'm gonna pull this girl, but the bigger one's into me, and I'm sad about it. Yeah. That's what it felt like to me,
which is still not great.
Not great, but like her interaction with him was very good.
She was good. She didn't like. I'm sure Bobby will get to it, but she didn't do tons of other stuff. But she is memorable in this role. I think that she's very good.
And it also is like a weird contradiction that she knows about sex and is like,
well, because she wasn't raised on some of the people are raised on the planet and are like, you know,
that makes sense,
thralls from birth, and then some of them are snatched. And I'm assuming that she was one of the ones that was taken.
Okay, that makes more sense. All right. Yeah, I don't know. I think I enjoyed it, but it's weird.
I think this episode, because again, like I made a joke about how it's like parodied a lot and like academically cited weirdly, because there are layers to this episode, like the warrior woman trope and the, you know, the slavery metaphor, and it being like an episode of television that, because that's like a common science fiction thing, right? The like space gladiator stuff. And so like it's been parodied. So like it's been written in TV analysis and stuff a lot, but it's been parodied a couple times in like, I think The Simpsons and also in like South Park and stuff, because this episode, we always talk about how like a lot of the episodes where people see Captain Kirk being overacty or whatever, it's like, oh, he's literally like body snatched or whatever. And this one he's not, but he is overacting.
There's a lot going on.
There's like there's a lot happening in this one. And, you know, we got the like baby woman and like, I don't know. You don't see a lot of interactions between Kirk and Bones and Spock, which like I think is a huge detriment to this episode. Mm-hmm. And so like if this is one of the only episodes you've ever seen, this does seem like, oh yeah, that silly space show from the 60s.
Yeah.
It's funner to watch and like A, with friends, but B, if you like know more about this, like there is a reason I did not put this in season 1 or even season 2. Like I feel like you need more context of character to be like, these ding dongs.
Yes.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yes, totally. And like I feel like it's hard. I'm having a hard time because it seems like the stuff that's happening on the planet with Kirk and Uhura and Chekhov and what's happening up on the ship with Bones and Spock and Scotty are clearly connected, but almost feel like two different episodes. So it's like hard to think about them at the same time as like interweaving stories. I like the stuff that's happening on the ship because what a rare pair. I don't.
That's a fic that is made only for you.
Yes, exactly.
Those three.
But like, it's very specific because like Spock is the middle point, and they both point to that. It's like a pitchfork polyamory or something where the two don't touch. The top, there's like one connecting point, and then they are with both of the other people, and then the other two are just
drinking
paramours? No, not
Metamorphs.
Metamorphs, thank you.
Oh, I hated all of that. I respect your lifestyles, but please never give me this new vocabulary.
I don't use that language for my
Neither
life.
do I. That's so much going on. Yeah. But that's what I'm picturing. Like, Scotty and Bones are just like good friends and they drink
love
together.
to do shots together.
Yeah, and they're
off
like,
of Spock's
we
body,
love,
I guess.
yeah, we love this big dumb idiot. Did you know he's a child of two worlds? So yeah, I enjoyed all of that. Scotty is stand-in. I was like sort of thinking that, but didn't have the words to put that together. But yes, I did enjoy that. I thought they were very funny. I loved the moment where Spock leaned in to ask if it was going to be a mutiny. It was so cute.
Manipulative too.
Yeah, it was. I really liked it because it did feel true to Spock's character. But I don't think I would have realized that if I hadn't seen so many episodes prior to this. Like, because it feels out of place, but it's for a purpose and it feels appropriate to the relationships that they have at this point in the series.
Well,
too.
and it's him knowing Scotty and Bones really well, because Bones is going to be like, well, absolutely not. I'm just here to be devil's advocate or whatever. And Scotty was like, no, I'm a very good soldier. How dare you?
We can go one higher. We can go higher.
Want to go warp 11? We'll do it. The sons and daughters of Sarek love to mutiny, so...
I don't totally understand that reference, but I get the vibe.
Yeah, you get the vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah, would it surprise you to know that this episode was written by the same woman that wrote Paradise Syndrome?
This woman loves a baby woman.
She loves it. At least Shauna has, like, more reason to be a baby woman. She was born on this planet. She was literally raised just to be a thrall, to fight. She has no relationship to her parents. She was like, oh, the one that gave birth to me? Oh, yeah, she died in a fight. Whatever.
NBD.
Here's your new nourishment. Like, she has no society. She has no... And
culture.
Yeah. And it's not like... It doesn't seem like the thralls are encouraged to, like, socialize and stuff. Mm-hmm. So she's this isolated fighting machine. So at least for that... It makes a little more sense that she's like a baby woman. Whereas the woman in Paradise Syndrome, she's like in a whole like well-run society. Yeah. Like she should know more things and be like a person and not just like a lady placeholder.
Yeah. It wasn't until later, once they started doing sex magic, that I was like, this is very baby woman, and I don't know that I like that, because it's just an irritating
Please
trope.
help me again.
Yeah. Is that helping? Please help me again. That was the moment that Kirk was like, okay, I'm absolutely leaving you behind.
I'm going to punch you in the face.
I could sleep with you, and you would probably give me what I want, but it's way easier if I just punch you.
It's just faster.
Not necessarily, but... She's never been touched by anyone. He's going to touch her clit once, and she's going to pass out.
Oh, yeah, so. This is your whole, like, what is my body?
Yeah, exactly.
This flood of hormones.
What? Yeah, he kissed her once, and she was like, my world has changed. I can see the stars now. You pointed out at the end that she looks a lot like Lady Gaga, and I totally agree.
It's like full, like, early Gaga music video outfit and hair.
It almost looks like her production material for Chromatica, which was like 2 albums ago. That same like shiny space crumb. I would not be surprised if they're linked, that she's influenced by that. Like she's culturally very smart. So, and also it's like, I've seen these looks before, even though I didn't know that what I was looking at was stuff from Star Trek. So it's like culturally seeped further out.
Originally, this would have been such a different vibe. Originally, it was supposed to be Kirk, Sulu, and Uhura on the planet, but Sulu had like a Green Berets like shooting schedule conflict, so they gave it to Chekhov, and like I still think it would have been good, but the vibe would have been very different because Sulu fucking rules at fighting.
Yeah, like that. No, I think it works a lot better. I wrote down too. I took a note while you were doing your summary about how they're such a weird like ragtag group, the three of them together. Is that why they got kidnapped then? Because it was the first time the three of them were like isolated, that they were like, these are the three we've chosen. So
We've
now
been waiting for this moment.
It's been literally years and they just snatch them.
We picked them and we've been waiting, and they never go on trips together.
I don't know. That was just what I thought of, because it is very weird to see the three. As soon as they got onto the transporter platform, I was like, wow, what a motley crew. Why these three?
My like headcanon for it is like they were supposed to go on this very standard like fact-finding mission of like this unmanned space station, and like Chekhov is an ensign, so he needs some more field time and stuff, and like I like Uhura, you know, Kirk and Uhura, bestie supremacy. I feel like she was like, I gotta get off the planet. Can I go on the next away mission? He was like, yeah, that's fine. We'll take this ding dong and we'll like have a good time.
I did like too that when they got surrounded at the very beginning after they'd been beamed there or whatever, that Kirk was calling out the instructions about the phaser, and then they didn't work, and then immediately he yelled for hand-to-hand combat, and Uhura was just as prepared, and so it's cool to see like a communications officer is still trained in the same way that everyone else
100%.
is, and was like really holding her own. It took two people to take her down, and like I really liked that demonstration of this is military training, even if it's wink a utopia without a military. Like they're all going through this same training to get onto this ship too, so I really liked that. I thought that was a cool insight into Uhura's character.
A thing that I low-key really love about this episode is that Kirk and Uhura and Chekhov are isolated a lot, and they are separated, and they could call to each other theoretically, but they come up with mini plans, and we never see them formulate the plans, and truly they're not really ever together. And the fact that they are like so simpatico as a crew, and even this ragtag group who's like, these three have never been on a mission, just the three of them together, still were like on the same fucking page several times. And like, did their, you know, little missions fail every time? Yeah, they were wearing shot collars, they're ding dongs, but they kept trying, and they like, and all three of them were like on the same page, which was great, and I really like that a lot.
Yeah, I like that when after Kirk punches the woman in the face, there's the reveal that the other two have also subdued the two people sent to them. Like, I thought that was excellent, because you're right, it does create this like, did they just know to do this? Is this like part of the training on the ship? Is like,
these are the plans, and it's like they just say a keyword. It's like glasses, and it's like, okay, it's the glasses plan. We got it. Like, or is it just like they like do like eye movements? It's like, I go that way.
Yeah, I think it's that one.
Yeah, a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B.
Yeah, exactly.
The Enterprise, you have to be a special like human to be on this. Like, yeah, smart, but also, you know, insane.
We have a lot of escape plans. Do you need a lot of escape plans? Yes.
We really do. I think I've shared this before, but I have like a headcanon that there is like, whenever the Enterprise specifically sends out their like mission logs, and the person who gets it is just like, this is made up. They made this whole thing up. Captain Kirk's whole career is a lie. This is all fake. My other headcanon is anytime there's like a weird sex planet that the Starfleet hears about, they're like, just send the Enterprise. They'll solve the crimes, and also like, they'd be into it. Just send them to the sex planet.
Yeah, that checks out.
Yeah, they're pretty solid headcanons, I think.
I love the like back end ideas of people who have to read these fucking insane reports, like of the star dates and the medical logs, but then also like with the X-Files, thinking about Skinner like reading through Mulder's bullshit.
Yeah, I feel like there's definitely the two layers of it. It's like their immediate bosses or whatever who are just like, ugh. Like, they know that it's actually real because they've, like, had mini check-ins and stuff, and they have fail-safes. It's like they have to ask Spock, and Spock is like, yeah, Vulcans can't lie. Wink. But, like, yeah, that fully happened. That we got hit with some sex pollen, and, like, it was a wild time. But, like, we solved it. And so, like, they know that it's true. But then there's the, like, the idea of the, like, Starfleet Reggie, who's, like, just reading them and becoming, like, the fangirl. And it's like, oh, I am into this crew.
Enough people are just like, I don't want to handle their expenses anymore. This is bullshit. I don't want, can someone else, and someone just acquires all of them.
Yeah.
They're like, this is my whole job.
They're my best friends. It's just like a deep parasocial relationship with the entire crew of the Enterprise.
Oh, you mean AO3?
Speaking of sex planets, a thing that I found in my research what I thought was it really I don't know. I'm making a guess that Margaret Arman, who's the one that wrote it, is a straight lady. And, you know, one of my personal philosophies is never read a romance novel recommended by a straight woman. This kind of falls into that, the baby woman stuff. But I found in Armin's original script, there was supposed to be a slithering vine named a Delca vine that was supposed to attack Shayna and, like, toss her around. And, like, just, like, a full, like, vine tentacle thing that she wrote into it. And Kirk was going to have to rescue her by, like, wrestling the tentacle vine. And the Robert Justman,
porn.
Yeah,
That's just
she
porn.
fully wrote like tentacle hentai into the script, and Robert Justman was like, "We don't have the budget for that, so we're gonna not do the vines. That's the only reason." But Margaret Arman said, "How about a little hentai?" No, all right. So, like, did she write one of the worst episodes of Star Trek and Paradise Syndrome? Yeah, but also, like, I respect the hustle. Also, I do have a link for Kirk getting fucked by a plant vine. So,
why am I even surprised anymore?
it's very good. McCoy takes him to it for his anniversary. I have no
I
shame.
feel like my brain is gonna short out.
Anyways. I was delighted to find this in my research. I just have this idea of her constantly pitching the vines or like vine adjacent things, and all it's just lightly like covered like porn. And everyone knows that it's porn. Everybody knows what she's freaky into, and she doesn't even realize it. She thinks she's being real smooth, and they're all like, "Yeah, we don't have the budget for that." And she's like, "Oh, okay, next time." Like, no, we do not have a tentacle budget.
Oh my god. She saw the one with the plants that move and was like, yeah, we can do that again.
We can do that?
No, we cannot.
I just feel like Kirk should be the one sexually menaced by a plant.
Oh my god. I like basically stopped taking notes once we got to the brains. Once we got to the brains on the rock, I was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna watch now. I'm
just gonna let it like float over me.
Yeah, so I was like, Kirk's about to talk these computer brains to death, but then he like gambles them to death, basically.
They're still alive, but like their society dies and they have to build a new one. Because that's the greatest gamble of all. Community.
I just assumed the greatest gamble was capitalism. He was like, let us introduce capitalism to you and then just have a great time.
Never contact us ever again. Yeah, in my notes, I usually find like this was revisited in this book and blah, blah, blah. And I did not find any of that. So they were truly like, yeah, no, fuck Triskelion. We don't give a shit about this. Hopefully they're fine. I don't know. It doesn't bother us.
Someone in 100 years can check it out.
Who cares?
Not more. Yeah, that's it. Those are all my thoughts. I enjoyed this, but like, I'm not gonna pretend it's a great episode.
Yeah, you enjoy it in a way where it's like, whoa, this is certainly a thing we're watching.
Yeah, I like all of these characters, and I like the groups they're being put in, even if the context is weird. Also,
truly, the kiss and punch is one of the funniest things in Star Trek history.
It's so good.
It's like a long kiss, too.
It's
an involved kiss. He really lays it on and then punches her right in the face.
Yeah, it gives her that hormone magic, and she's like, I'm blind with lust. Then he just, bam, right in the kisser.
Literally.
Yes. Is this also helping? She wakes up and it's like, oh, I don't know. I just must not understand their ways.
Yeah. Oh, well, are you ready for a synopsis showdown?
As ready as I'm ever going to be.
Kirk, Uhura, and Chekhov get kidnapped to become space gladiators. Unfortunately for their captors, they done messed with the wrong crew and got hit with that 1-2 Kirk punch of sex magic and tricked by that good talking. The Enterprise ain't nothing to fuck with. Kiss and punch! I don't know, I really wasted it on the summary, you guys. All the comedy is going to the summary.
Fair enough. That's fair enough. That's why I gotta do it on different days. Kirk, Chekhov, and Uhura are captured into alien slavery while Spock, Bones, and Scotty flirt about what to do about it. Kirk gambles 3 brains to the death of their society. The end!
The end. Space tears, but hopeful tears.
Hopeful.
We didn't even talk about that. The final shot of this episode is Shauna, soft focus, looking up into the sky after she's been abandoned by this man. At least this time she's not like pregnant, you know. So like she's and looking up and just crying and being like, "Oh, the future." I don't remember what she said, but it's like supposed to be like very hopeful. Like, yes, I will learn and I will go to the stars someday.
Yeah, you won't.
Yeah, for sure. You are. These brains are gonna get bored in 10 days. I hate to break it to you.
And then they just self-immolate. They're like, we don't even want to be alive anymore.
Yep. Destroy the planet. That's why they can never go back. The planet just explodes 10 days later.
Shut it down.
Destroy.
Oh, fuck.
Are you ready for Mulder? It's me.
I am. I guess.
Game ships on Friday. 50 malls across the United States and Japan.
Only there's a dead body between you and untold riches.
I don't know about you guys, but I'd be checking my shorts for cake.
All right, now for a not at all quick summary.
Why lie?
Why even lie? A bunch of bros are playing a VR shoot-'em-up game, and my dudes are jacked up on adrenaline, and I assume toxic energy drinks. They're blasting and screaming, and the best among them runs out into the next area of the game, only to be confronted by a beautiful woman in extremely revealing clothing, who informs them that this is my game, and probably shoots him with an antique gun. Uh-oh, he's real world dead. Scully and Mulder show up at the headquarters of the gaming company where this accident happened to find the lone gunman, who confess that they have financial interest in this VR system going live and national ASAP because they took a stupid deal to do some consulting for them and really do not want actual police to be involved in this debacle. Scully is like, wow, that's very dumb. And Mulder is like, au contraire, mon ami, this is actually very cool. Scully examines the body and says this bro was definitely killed by a gunshot wound, I guess, though it would have been impossible to get the gun into the high security building. After watching footage from the game, which I guess no one thought to do until now, they discover the footage of Maitreya killing the bro. Phoebe, the lady designer, looks pretty concerned about this lady character, but, as is the X-File way, says nothing. Mulder prints out a truly ridiculous 3D mock-up of this mysterious woman and gives it to the police chief and tells him to find this woman because that's your killer. The cop is like, okay, heads off. Enter Daryl Musashi, a quote-unquote famous computer hacker who has been brought into the game to kill Maitreya. Mulder is super excited about this, but look out, bitch, because Maitreya is now dressed as a Japanese swordswoman, cuts his fucking hands off, and then decapitates him with a large medieval sword while Mulder, Phoebe, and the dude developer, and the lone gunman all watch in horror. Immediately after witnessing this, Mulder receives a call from the sheriff's department that a woman similar to the one on the printout has been picked up. The woman, a stripper named Jade Blue Afterglow, who has apparently been harassed by the entire police department since the moment they picked her up, tells the agents that she was paid by a medical imaging facility in Culver City, California to scan her body, which is probably why she's in this dumbass game, and can she go home now, please? The lone gunmen, for some dumb fucking reason, have decided to go into the game and do I don't know what their plan was, to be honest. It doesn't really make a lot of sense, because computers can't do any of this. Anyway, Mulder, of course, is like, suit me up, Scully, I'm fucking going in. And he gets into the game and does, fairly well until Maitreya shows up dressed like a ninja, running like a weirdo, and he tries to follow her. Meanwhile, outside the game, Phoebe is tearfully admitting to Scully that actually she created this super sexist-seeming female character as a way to fight back against the testosterone-fueled workplace that she was in with all these dumb idiot boys every day. But whoops again, somehow, magic, Maitreya has jumped from the personal game Phoebe originally coded her for into the first-person shooter game. Mulder, of course, starts getting his ass kicked, and with a deep sigh, Scully suits up, grabs a big-ass gun, and goes into the cursed gate to save her dumbass man. Scully blasts the shit out of Maitreya, who begins to duplicate and level up, making it obvious that Mulder and Scully are not going to make it long. Phoebe angrily announces that this game has gone on for too long, and she's going to fucking kill this game. She doesn't actually say that, but she should. Bro developer is like, no, how could you? Don't reveal that we created a secret quote-unquote kill switch. We will also completely erase the entire game, all of the code, any logs we ever did about this. All of it erased forever. A thing that absolutely 100% would work. Wink. Myers finally convinces Phoebe to give up the very easy kill switch code, and they erase the entire game, including Maitreya, and save the agents. In the end, everyone just moves on, I guess, and they ship this game out. But we see a computer mysteriously printing out a mock-up of a very similar-looking latex babe video game woman, only this time, she's got Scully's face. The end!
Well, how could they have shipped it out if they exploded it?
You're right. Everyone moves on, including the malls.
Yeah, and they were like, oh, we invested hundreds of thousands of dollars into this and like had to build these like giant warehouses inside of our malls.
They were dying anyway.
That's true. It was the late 90s. We had a lot of empty space. I get it.
What did you think of this episode?
I loved it.
It's so good. Yes.
I tried to have this conversation with somebody at work because we were talking about the difference between like fun sexist comics and like sexist comics. Yeah. Because there's like things like where it's like, oh, very cheesecakey and like girl power, but it's like meant to be that way and it's like fun and silly. And then it's the people who are like, and I am the queen of Sparta and my tits are huge and I'm the best fighter for no reason. And it's like, okay, this is not fun sexism. We don't like this one. And this one was fun sexism. It's very stupid.
It is very stupid. And I like too that it like addresses that. Scully talks about that, like, why do we do this? Why do we like pump this testosterone nightmare into a culture? And Mulder's like, that's really sexist that you think it's just dudes and that we're just doing it for this reason.
Did you not see this lady? She's the one that crafted this really fucking horned up one. Right? I'm sorry, Scully, that you always forget this, but lesbians exist.
I love the idea of the two of them just getting into fights on every single road trip where Mulder's like, do I have to remind you once again that lesbians exist?
Scully is very straight and loves guns, but she hates testosterone or whatever.
Oh, fuck.
I mean, it's very silly, right? Like, it is making commentary on so many things and in, like, a good way and a bad way. Like, it's making commentary on, like, you know, whatever, cyberpunk VR, the future, blah, blah, blah. But it's also, like, Mulder and Scully have the, like, most obvious conversation where it's like, well, maybe video games are good for releasing aggression, and then, you know, that's what it's about. It's about like catharsis through art or whatever. And then Scully's like, yeah, but what if, you know, listening to rap music makes you like punch someone in the face? And it's like, no, that's not how any of this works. But it is a conversation that was crazy prevalent in the 90s.
Yes.
It was like just the whole 90s. It was like, what is the purpose of art? And is like music and video games destroying our country? Not like, you know, all of the bad politics.
Or the actual guns.
Or the actual guns. Or like, it's definitely the fake guns, not the real guns that are destroying our society.
Right, if we didn't have these fake guns, then they wouldn't want to pick up all of these real guns. Not like, if these real guns weren't here, then that wouldn't be a problem at all. Whatever.
Yeah, and
what do we know?
What do we know? It's also like one of those, I mean, Scully always is this person, right, that's like a naysayer, and it's like usually like okay or whatever, and this still is, but it was definitely her being like, ugh, I don't get this nerd shit or whatever.
Yes.
Mulder being like, you're being kind of a bitch about this.
All right, my personal headcanon about this too. One of the things about this episode that's super weird is that all of a sudden out of nowhere we learn that Mulder is very into gaming. And I feel like it is just his latest fixation, and Scully's like, I cannot handle this fixation. Yeah. This one is too much, Mulder. You asked me to care about Bigfoot. You asked me to look at Abraham Lincoln bullshit. You asked me to watch fucking Plan 9 87 times. I refuse to accept that you're into gaming. We're not doing this. Like, that's what this feels like to me. Because she is so annoyed. Just like deeply annoyed about it.
I feel like Mulder is the type of person that doesn't even play video games, but like subscribes to like a video game magazine, or like if he goes
just like statistics about video games.
and he finds them like fascinating, but he doesn't really have the time or whatever. And he would definitely, I know YouTube didn't really exist then or whatever, but he would definitely be like subscribed to like a lot of people's Twitches and stuff just to like have on in the background when he can't sleep, because it's like he finds the gameplay fascinating, but he personally doesn't like to play the games. That's definitely the vibe I get from Mulder.
I think that's an excellent observation. I would not have thought of that, but I think you're totally fucking right.
Yeah. So he probably doesn't talk about it a lot because he's not like, oh, this latest game that I'm playing, but he has like a deep knowledge of them and like likes them. And he's
it's
like,
even more annoying.
You're being a real gatekeeper about this, Scully. Also, I love that she's like, oh, so you go into these games with guns? Ugh. I've killed a lot of people with a real gun.
Right. This is season 7. Her body count is high. She's killed a lot of
glass
people.
houses, Scully. It's like, yeah, you get your yayas off killing real people. They have to get their yayas off killing fake people. Let them have this.
She's like, no, I refuse. I don't understand it at all. It's because she doesn't like doing it.
Yeah.
She does it because she's a cop, but she's not like super jazzed out to go out and shoot Mulder.
And do a murder. Yeah. Fair. But you know, whether she's still getting it out of her system.
That's true. You're right. That's why she goes to therapy.
Yeah, the way that they write Phoebe is so terrible, but also funny. Of like, I'm the only girl here in this coding room of all these men, so I had to make my own goddess, and it was like way worse than anything that they were. It's like truly. Oh, you as a woman went, what is my Mary Sue? And then made the biggest Mary Sue that is a murdering Mary Sue. And honestly, like, good for her, I get it. But like, I'm a burlesque dancer. Like, this is your outlet, like that. Mm-hmm. But also, it is very funny to be like, oh, men can't even dream of the sexism we could do to ourselves.
That's some handmade shit right there.
She's also like very coded as like a lesbian too. Like they tried to like make it, oh no, this is just like my fill-in for me so that I can get my catharsis out or whatever. But then like at the end, like we noticed when they went to find Mulder and Scully, all the lone gunmen are like, Mulder, and she's like, Scully, I love you. Also, now new headcanon, that rendering of Scully at the end didn't happen on accident. It's definitely Phoebe doing it, and she just doesn't understand that it's not her personal laptop. Her laptop is hooked up to everything, and she did it again. Phoebe 100% coded that. She was like, oh, it's not a Mary Sue anymore. I have a different fixation now. It's not me. It's her.
I love that. I think that makes way more sense, first of all. Oh my god.
The owner of the company, she was like, I don't know how she got into the game. The owner of the company, Ivan, seemed like a real fucking creep. So I bet he hacked into her shit because she probably has better ideas than him. So he hacked into her stuff to get more ideas. And then that's how that accidentally happened. I think that's the headcanon. I fixed the whole.
Fantastic. Fantastic. We gotta call William Gibson up and be like, listen, you gotta write like an appendix.
Well, that also like is another like meta line of like the sexism of like the tech workplace. Like she is a better coder and had a better idea, but he's like, you know, the idea man or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Also, when they're about to destroy the game, he says, I'm so close. Not we're so close. Mm-hmm. Me, personally. Like, yeah, fuck you. I'm killing this game with this very easy kill switch.
Control, Alt, Bloodbath.
I like this too because the 2 episodes that William Gibson and his partner wrote were Kill Switch, the one with Esther, and this one, which both have really strong female characters, even if they're both kind of idiots, but like not in baby women way.
Right.
Like in I'm surrounded by fucking idiot men all the time and it's corrupted me from the inside.
even the stripper, like the way that she was like all the men in that scene were acting like the idiots, and they're like, oh, we can't even do our jobs because of our like, oh, we want to fuck this lady so bad. Oh, but then we're all gonna hang out and jerk off and high five about it and not go talk to the girl because we're all afraid of her. And then she was very competent. Yeah, she was dressed like a stripper because that was her job, but she was like not intimidated by everybody and was like, I didn't fucking kill anybody. So, And
what are we doing here?
Yeah, and she even like she like clocks Scully right away of like, oh, you're doing the like capital F feminism thing or whatever, and you're looking down on me, but I didn't do shit, and like fuck you, you're being the asshole here.
Yeah.
So can I leave now?
I like too that when she gets the printout, she like relaxes. I thought that was a really good choice by the actor to like, oh, this is just this thing. Like, sure, I have to have this like front, this like cold facade on all the time because people treat me like fucking garbage. Because
people treat me as an object without agency and like,
and I'm just fucking tired of it, and I don't have to.
Not that this is my job,
right? Yeah, and like this happens to me so much that I don't even put up with it. I just have this cold front on. And then to see her relax and like, oh yeah, this is easy to explain. I definitely didn't do it. Here's your medical imaging thing. Go talk to him, whatever. Bye. Like, I like that. I thought that was really good.
Yeah. Because it's very easy, especially in the 90s, especially episodes written by men, to have like a stripper character that is like a caricature or a baby woman or like, ha ha ha, we're making fun of sex work or whatever. But she was like actually quite competent and great. And I liked that scene.
Yeah.
Because that is the like, capital F like feminism second wave bullshit where it's like, oh, you can't dress like a slut and still be like a feminist or whatever. And it's like, no, you're being an asshole. You're the bad guy here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Slut said with love and...
Oh, yeah. Slut's not a pejorative. Absolutely not. Would it surprise you to learn that this episode went super over budget?
No.
A bunch of people said, unsurprisingly, the concepts were a little hard to move from the script into the film.
Yeah. No, I think they did a pretty good job. And like even sometimes some of the graphics that look bad, it sort of works for the plot.
Yes.
Because like that game was a terrible game and would have failed and would have had terrible reviews.
Yes, absolutely. As we said while we were watching
wildly
it,
inconsistent. What is this game?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. They're like the only thing is that you shoot things, but like the story doesn't. There's no consistency level to level. Yeah. It's so hard. No one's ever beaten level 2, and like how many levels are there? It's not great. It's not a very good game. And also, Matreya's in all of the last like level 2. What was it before that? Yeah. Less interesting. Much less interesting. This was such a complicated production that it was still being completed on the Saturday afternoon hours before it was supposed to air. That blew my mind. Imagine just
that is
like
a heart attack.
4 minutes until this airs. Send it over. I know somebody who works for Warner Brothers, and that is his job. He sends files back and forth between different agencies, and he's like, sometimes people will call me at like midnight, like freaking out because files haven't come in, and it's like, what do you want me to do?
Yeah,
like,
I cannot make the file.
I'm literally the middle person. Until they send it to me, I can do nothing. And like, how stressful that must fucking be if in a situation like this, like, bro, this has to go live like right fucking now. It's just absolutely wild. I wonder if it's still like that. Can you still send something that late? I feel like that's impossible. There's no way.
I don't know. The CW exists. Yeah. For now.
Fair enough.
I did love that when the lone gunmen, like true idiots, went in the game and then it started to go bad. Mulder was like, I have to go protect my guys.
We have to save our
Scully,
3
give me your sunglasses.
He did not ask. He just took them.
I need to look cool. That's not what. Okay.
Oh, well, there's a big dummy.
Yeah.
Would you guess the reviews are terrible with this episode?
No.
They're really bad.
You said that this is the beginning of the end.
Yeah, that's what people say. Some of the quotes I pulled from some of the reviews were, quote unquote, legendarily bad. As if the show is slowly but surely letting the air out of its own tires. David Duchovny and Gillian Anderson are both really trying. Achieves considerable mayhem, but remarkably little drama. Even as a man's hands are cut into bloody stumps, one never gets the sense anything important is going on. And then this one, which made me laugh a lot. The only saving grace here is the appearance of hip conspiracy buffs, the lone gunman. Did the lone gunman write this review?
You know, those hip conspiracy buffs.
Julian Anderson, though, said this is one of her favorite episodes.
Yeah, because it's fun and stupid.
Yeah, she said despite its reliance on big guns and raging testosterone, she enjoyed the opportunity to show Scully wearing heavy metal and firing oversized weapons.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
It was badass.
It was badass. She looked fucking great. Also, this episode won Emmys. For outstanding sound mixing for a drama series and outstanding visual effects for a series, and they received a nomination for outstanding sound editing for a series, which, like, checks out.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on, and especially for, like, the early 2000s, this is pretty good.
Yeah,
And
agreed.
like you were saying, too, like, the graphics look a very particular way, but they're done really well. Like, they have that very specific look, but, like, even with the very time contemporary feeling of those graphics, this episode doesn't feel dated, which I feel like when it aired, people probably thought, this is gonna, like, how is this gonna hold up? This is so shitty. But, like, looking back on it, like, it is weirdly timeless because they've, like, placed the graphics inside of this, like, universe that they've created.
Yeah, I would agree. I did say to you that, like, voiceover at the end definitely felt like something that David Duchovny wrote in one of his, like, insane books. It was like, did he write this part? He was like, I know how to end this. Let me add it. I'll write, like, fake poetry about, like, the crumbling of society.
Yes. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised to learn that he had written it. Not at all.
Definitely felt like it. Having read a single one of his books, yes.
It was like an 800-page book.
Yeah, I know. It was like a long-ass crazy book.
It was enjoyable.
Yeah, no, it was good. I would recommend it.
Yes. Truly like lightning. That's what we're talking about. It's wild.
A book, for sure.
It is a book, for sure. Yes. That's kind of it. I don't have a ton to say about this, other than, like, none of that stuff is possible on a computer. It's not how software works, really.
No.
But, you know, it's enjoyable. It was fun.
Yeah, people need to lighten up and have a good time.
Yes.
X-Files fans need to lighten up and have a good time.
Always true. Evergreen. Are you ready for Synopsis Showdown?
I am.
All right. Mulder and Scully are nearly killed by a VR game and a sexy avatar.
Scully and Mulder get their virtual yayas off, but cost the lone gunman untold hundreds of dollars in doing so. Also, some light lesbianism.
That was a good one. Good work.
Are you ready for a Deep Throat's mission log?
Yes.
Well, Mr. Spock, if you're going into the lion's den, you'll need a medical officer.
Daniel, as I recall, had only his faith. But I welcome your company, Doctor.
So, starting with those gosh darn Gamesters of the Triskelion.
I know, me and you kept saying Game Masters, but it's Gamesters.
Because Gamesters sounds like something your grandparents call you when they see you playing with a original Nintendo entertainment system.
Oh, what a little gamester.
What a little gamester you are.
Gross. Go outside with your hoop and stick, Grandma.
Ball and cup, but it's in virtual reality now. So this was, as Stella mentioned, written by Margaret Arman. And we talked about her when discussing the Paradise Syndrome. She also has a writing credit on The Cloudminders, as well as 2 animated series episodes, The Lorelei Signal and The M. Burgess Element.
The Cloudminders also has a baby woman, but she's rich.
Yeah.
And has bad politics.
Is this woman a baby woman, or does she only think other, or like that's her perception of all women, is that they're baby women? Do we know?
I have no idea. I don't know anything about this woman. And I don't remember this animated series episode, so I'll have to watch them.
She was originally slated by Fred Freiberger to be the potential successor to Arthur Singer as story editor. However, they learned halfway through filming this episode that season 3 was canceled.
Oh.
This is when they learn that. And then after this, the writing campaign happens. So if energy seems to fall off second half of this episode, it's because they thought they were canceled.
Oh, no.
Okay.
And so she was supposed to get that job season 4 and beyond, and season 4 and beyond never happened because they had to squeak out season 3.
Right.
It's said that Margaret came up with the idea of this episode after seeing the re-release of the 1960s Spartacus movie a few weeks before and used the gladiator training school scenes as inspiration. And that comes up in the weapons that they're using, the spears, the nets. A lot of that stuff is old school, historically accurate gladiator stuff. Which, why does that exist in space? Who knows? It's fun. It's a game.
They're
Whatever.
little brains. They did some research.
This was directed by Gene Nelson. Gene was the first new director to be hired for the second season. All of the first season episodes were Joseph Pevney, Mark Daniels, Ralph Sinensky, who we've said over and over and over again. Despite finishing this on schedule and leaving a good impression on the producers, he was never asked to direct more episodes. He started out as an ice skater and dancer and then moved on to directing. Seriously.
Good for him.
That makes, I mean, you gotta have a second career when you do something like that.
Between 61 and 79, he did like several TV shows, but also full films, including 2 Elvis Presley movies and episodes of I Dream of Jeannie, Gunsmoke, The FBI, Hawaii Five-0, The Mod Squad. And in the late 80s, he taught in the theater arts department at San Francisco State University. In the 1990s, for his contributions to the motion picture industry, he was inducted into the Hall of Fame, and his star is still at 7005 Hollywood Boulevard.
Cool. As
Stell mentioned, Chekhov's role in this episode was originally supposed to go to Sulu. There was a quote up on this of George Takei talking about that and talking about how this was actually supposed to be like a huge lore dump for Sulu in this episode. We were supposed to get a lot of his backstory and like flesh out his character more. So he was going to try to fly back just for this episode from the Green Berets, but there were production issues on the other end, so we ended up not being able to do it. And the last line of this quote is, I got to do the Green Berets and they wrote all of Sulu's lines for Chekhov, so Walter got a good break. Which like is a
Adorable.
great damn bro move of him. It was great. The look of the character Galt was modeled after Ming the Merciless from Flash Gordon, which, yes, is there. The baldness with the goatee. They took some of the fake Asian aspects out of it, which I appreciate. Yes. But the look is definitely still there, and it brings that gravitas. A Triskelion is a Celtic symbol consisting of 3 legs or lines radiating from the center, which is the exact symbol that we see all over the planet. So it's so darn literal.
It's my tramp stamp. It's a Triskel, which is a different version of a Triskelion. It is my tramp stamp. But it's like the symbol of 3, which is why they had the 3 brains. It's like also like Maiden, Mother, Crone, and like air, water, earth. Like it's like old Celtic, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, the 3 comes up a lot.
Also the sign of the Hale family in Teen Wolf.
Amazing. Paul Baxley is Shatner's stunt double for this, and there's a lot of just fun fight scenes here. It all seems really circusy and light. Like, none of the combat, even though Shatner is stabbing dudes in the stomach with spears.
We didn't even talk about that. He just really casually is like, yeah, okay, I'll kill these dudes. That's fine.
Yeah, so he like repeatedly stabs the big guy with the tusks.
His whole crew, though.
Yeah,
they weren't going to do any murders up until it was everybody's life on the line, and then Captain...
But a lot of times in other episodes of Star Trek, it's kind of like when they show Wolverine anytime in the 90s of like he has these fucking knives for hands, but he never kills anybody. He just kind of incapacitates them. It's usually what Kirk does. He's just straight up murdering dudes this episode.
Yeah.
There is an unused take of Paul Baxley doing one of those big fight scenes that results in him splitting his pants. I'd like to think it's the Pollock-assisted jump kick.
It absolutely has to be.
It has to be.
The rest of it is very, like, legs planted. There's no way he's, like, stepping far enough to the side to rip his fucking pants.
So many jump kicks.
I mean,
so cool.
The whole episode is, like, mostly just the dun 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 dun.
Yes.
Dun, like, and then some, like, inappropriate, like, love lady music.
They cut hard between the two of them very often. Like, it goes love theme to fight music, love theme to fight music.
Did not win any sound editing Emmys.
No, it did not. Moving on to some casting stuff. Our 3 providers are Bart LaRue, Walter Edmondson, and Robert C. Johnson, who also did voice work for other episodes on the show. Some of them we've talked about previously. Bart LaRue, we talked about being the voice of the Guardian in City on the Edge of Forever. Walker, we talked about when we were discussing Amok Time. And Robert C. Johnson, we talked about when we were discussing The Cage, and he's also like the voice on all of the self-detonating videotapes in Mission Impossible.
Oh.
That is Mickey Morton as Klug. Klug, the gigantic, big tusked
the big
guy.
dude
with the teeth.
We only get his name like right at the beginning, but He is a huge frickin' guy. Born in Chicago in 27 with a guest career of depicting monsters, gangsters, and people of different ethnicities he had no business doing at the time. However, that was Hollywood, and he was supposed to be like big characters or whatever.
Like, we can't find a big Indian man. They don't exist.
Stupid.
He was Gargantua on an episode of Wonder Woman. He was a Wookiee in the Star Wars Holiday Special. And he played Solomon Grundy on Legends of the Superheroes, which was like a live-action DC thing back in the day.
Solomon Grundy, born on a Monday. Also best friends with Harley Quinn, canonically, in the series right now.
Yeah. I think it's great casting, if just by the look at him. That is Dick Crockett as the Andorian Thrall, which Erin was like, oh, it's one of those.
One of them cold guys.
He's blue and he's got the thingies on his head.
He was often a stunt double of William Shatner, specifically in Where No Man Has Gone Before, which we've talked about previously on the show. He acted and did stunt work, so he played a lot of henchmen, thugs in his early career, with later roles being military men and even playing the president in The Pink Panther Strikes Again. That is Victoria George as Ensign Jana Haynes, taking comms, which you saw before.
I like her.
Just like visually very striking, very the edge. She looks like she belongs in that cast.
She does.
I like that it was just like, sometimes like ladies drive the ship.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like a whole big thing or anything.
Only
Star
to
Trek is very good at that. Of
Yeah.
like, this is just like what people look like.
Yeah.
And we're all here to do our jobs.
it's a chain of command thing, like a military. And so if certain people are away, certain people take those roles regardless of that, because that's just the succession of
You
command.
can't be a captain, right?
So Victoria George as Ensign Jana Haynes, she only did a few films and TV guest appearances in the mid-60s to late 80s, but that includes Green Hornet and the 1966 John Wayne flick El Dorado. That's Jane Ross as Tamoon, Chekhov's.
Excellent.
This will get you.
Okay, I'm ready.
A persistent rumor is that B. Arthur was actually Jane Ross guesting as this role because of physical differences between the two of them. This rumor persisted for so long that in 2001, B. Arthur told in the Television Academy interviews that she never guested on Star Trek or used the name Jane Ross. However, some people still circulate this rumor.
I don't
Wow.
think it looks like her at all.
I don't think it looks like her either.
She's tall. She's taller than that.
Yeah, she's very tall.
Like- Chekhov's a little guy, but she's taller than that.
There's only that one scene where both of them are standing up and she looks at him. I think most of the time they're like seated next to one another.
Yeah.
Okay, so the real Jane Ross was a member of the close harmony singing group The Tritones with Nancy Sinatra and Belinda Burrell, and also did some guest TV work. So like she has her own credits.
That's weird that people would be like, no, you're definitely this other famous lady.
You're
No way
definitely
there could
B.
be
Arthur
two
in
of you.
disguise. Yeah. That's Steve Sandor as the high hair coiffed Lars, the guy in the vest and the shoulder blades. With this being one of his first credited roles, he is heavily in the mix as cowboys and cops throughout the 60s and 70s. The 80s see him venture into B-movie action horror with roles in The Ninth Configuration, the titular character in Stryker with a Y.
Stryker.
And in some TV movie work as well. His last credit is voicing Orion in the 1990 Superman, the animated series. That brings us to Shayna, who is Angelique Pettyjohn.
Pettyjohn?
Angelique Pettyjohn. During an interview, Angelique said that when she first auditioned for the role of Shayna, she admitted to the producers that she didn't think she fit the character. When they asked why, she said the script described her as an Amazon, but at 5'6", Peyton said she's hardly an Amazon. The producers all laughed and said, "Look, honey, next to Shatner, you'll look like an Amazon."
Oh, hilarious. I don't think I'll fit the role because, I have a brain.
Angelique has an interesting story because her acting career kind of falters after this. Doesn't lead to a lot, maybe some bad B movies, but like diminishing returns on her acting career. It also said that she struggled with substance abuse around that time as well, like so many people in Hollywood did, because everyone was being pumped with stimulants.
Yeah.
So she starts doing some softcore and then hardcore porn work. But then, as time goes on and the Star Trek motion picture comes out, the convention circuit starts to swoop up.
Oh,
So
dope.
she realized that she could make more money doing Star Trek conventions
Then porn?
than adult movies.
Wow.
And just started doing Star Trek conventions.
Fucking get it.
And
Good
this
for her.
leads to a career resurgence for her.
I love that.
Good for her.
So after that, she does a bunch of indie movies like Repo Man, Biohazard, The Wizard of Speed and Time. And then she just starts doing Vegas work as an exotic dancer, but like Vegas showgirl style.
Cool.
She sold posters of herself in this costume, holding like the pole staff that she has, both with her top on and topless, and like made fucking bank off of it.
Good for her.
Worked fandom in the right way.
Yeah.
She said, you guys are weird, horny nerds, and I respect it.
Yep.
You can already find me naked. You should give me money for me being naked.
So became, you know, the quintessential back of the bedroom wall pinup. Like the poster is pure sci-fi, nerdy, horny greatness. So yes, worked the system, and I fucking love stories like
I want
Good
us
for
to
her.
find one of those posters.
Hell yeah.
I really want one of those posters in the studio.
I looked it up. We'll see if we can order a print. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Awesome.
And that brings us to Joseph Ruskin, who plays Galt. The story is when Joseph Ruskin saw that his costume consisted of a long black floor-length robe
With no armholes.
with no armholes. He came up with the idea of walking in an extremely fluid way,
It works.
known as glide stepping. Combined with the robe, it makes it look like he could have anything under that robe. So,
Yeah.
like, not even necessarily like a bipedal creature. He could just be whatever under there.
You know, maybe some tentacle vines.
Yeah, maybe a tentacle vine.
I'm working them in somehow.
Ruskin's great because he actually comes back to Star Trek a bunch
A lot.
through the decades. We see him again as the Klingon Tumek in a couple of DS9's episodes, as well as a Cardassian informant, a Vulcan Master in Voyager's Gravity, Sona's Officer in the Insurrection film, and a Suliban Doctor on the very first episodes of Enterprise. So he is tied, or close to being tied, with Majel Barrett in the number of Star Trek things that you could be on.
Cool.
I just like that. I like that he liked working on it so much that he just kept coming back.
He's like, this Star Trek Enterprise seems pretty good.
Outside of Trek, he was a prominent TV guest actor while also serving 4 decades on the Screen Actors Guild Executive Board of Directors. He even has voice acting credits on both the Smurfs and the Snorks. So, like, way to play both sides.
the Snorks. They're
Yeah.
underwater Smurfs.
Anytime,
Never heard of that.
You've never watched the Snorks?
don't.
I'm going to show you a picture of a Snork.
anytime you mention the Snorks to somebody who remembers the Snorks, they're like, they're not knockoff Smurks. They were their own thing.
No, they're underwater Smurfs. This is what the Snorks looked like.
Oh, I remember those.
Yeah.
Why is that one dressed like Charlie Brown?
I don't know.
Marketing is the answer.
They got little tubes on their head because they're snorkels. Get it?
Oh, I did not get it. Okay. Yeah, I've seen these before.
The Snorks.
He also had live acting roles all the way up to shows like Alias Bones and in movies like Smoking Aces. So, like, yeah, worked his butt off, did a lot of Trek. I respect that totally.
Dope.
Moving on to first-person shooter.
Best episode. No, it's not the best episode, but it is really good.
As Erin mentioned, written again by William Gibson and Tom Maddox, the same 2 people who worked on with Kill Switch. This one, a lot more looser. It's in Erin's notes, but I'll say it out loud. How much they reran Kill Switch and got royalties off of that gave them the idea to write another episode.
William Gibson was like, I'll get into TV.
I could be getting 2 checks from this.
Yeah. I respect it, honestly.
Why not?
And it's really interesting, the dynamic between the 2 of them, because Kill Switch is such a more hardcore tech, gritty story. And this is just that realm of cyberpunk that is pure magic fantasy.
Yeah.
We don't explain the inner workings of anything. This is just how it works. This is barely the rules of this universe.
There's no aesthetic. It's just like,
Yeah.
you know, we're in this
Badass cyber warriors, and you're just along for the fucking ride. And as long as you could just let all that go and be along for the fucking, this is such a fun episode. This was directed by Chris Carter, because who else would have?
Of course it is. Chris Carter said the hardest thing about this episode, not any of the over budget, not any of the
He's old hat at that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Not any of the like difficulties of the script, was casting Maitreya. Of course it was. He's like, no, we need a very specific type of woman.
And he was looking in the wrong place. I'll talk more about that
Yeah,
later.
I figured you were going to talk about it.
They
yeah.
were looking in the adult entertainment industry or like B horror movies or something like that. And the woman who plays Maitreya was just doing TV and had been for a while, doing a lot of comedy work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So the rifles in this were the exact same rifles that they used in Space Above and Beyond. So they just got to use those props again.
Nice.
And notably on the budget in this was also all of the stunt people that they had to hire to do all of this stuff. A lot of like the digital shootings and shit are Maitreya, but it was a gymnast that needed to be hired to do all those wet flips.
For no reason. For no reason.
No, it's badass.
Because it was in the script and it was fucking badass. They had to hire all of those people to ride those motorcycles in. 14 stuntmen.
What?
Yep. Amazing. It's great stuff. Bruce Harwood, who portrayed Byers, noted that the action sequences in the episode were a challenge. He explained, it's pretty difficult on a set where the stuntmen come up to you and go, don't worry, you'll be safe, nothing to worry about. Okay, everybody put their safety glasses on.
Yeah.
It was also said that he was so out of shape that in the brief moments where they had to run for this episode, he pulled a muscle.
Look, he's an actor, not an athlete.
And then one more thing in the lore and fan section of this that wasn't in my notes anywhere, but I wanted to bring up because I thought about it now watching these episodes again after doing this show. In Kill Switch, one of our notes was that somebody needed like a wireframe render of Scully for one of those fight sequences in Mulder's head with the nurses where she gets phased out.
Yeah.
And that person went above and beyond and like did a nude render and then put clothes on top of it. And in this episode, it ends with a damn near fully nude render of Dana Scully.
Yeah, it does.
So great bookend work there. So moving on to some casting stuff. As the great original guru gamer, Daryl Musashi, is a man named Christopher Eng. Christopher Eng and G, a very, very common name. This is that Christopher Eng's only listed role on Internet Movie Database. If you do like a blank search for it, you get a lot of LinkedIn's for like doctors and other people in that. I didn't dig into photos to like find out what happened to this guy. I just like the lore of
mythos of like
Christopher Eng is Daryl Musashi, the ultimate gamer, his only credit.
Yeah, that's wild.
It's great.
That's John Merritt as a security guard. He did guest roles on The Practice, The Shield, and a bunch of short films. James Geraldine as the lead detective with the finger bite and everything. Also did Charmed, ER, The Practice, The Chamber, Sons of Anarchy, Shameless. That all plays. That's Ryan Todd as Moxie, one of the nerd hordes from the beginning. Most of his acting roles are when he was younger, including Last Action Hero and First Night, but he also has a lot of production assistant, set production assistant, director, producer, and editor credits as well. So, like, his IMDb was all over the page, and it's dope. Also in that group is Michael Ray Bauer as Low-Fat. He had earlier roles on Tales from the Crypt, Wonder Years, and Doogie Howser, but of course, most of our generation, the people listening to this show, remember him as Donkey Lips from Salute Your Shorts.
Oh, I did not realize that was the same person.
It absolutely is.
Fun fact about me, Salute Your Shorts, even though it's our age and I watch tons of TV around it and like whatever, there is a black hole. When people say that, and I'll look it up, and I watched everything around it. I had to have watched it, but it is a black hole in my brain. I got nothing up here.
That's so funny. That's how I know that giraffes have purple tongues, is because of Salute Your Shorts.
Nothing.
I remember it because we were in a family that had cable in our homes around that age. And so I would only get to watch the Nickelodeon shows when I was visiting a friend's house. So he goes on to work with Dave Duchovny again in that 2001 alien comedy Evolution. And that's like his first big movie role. So that's cool for him. He's continued to do guest TV work and also voice work on video games like GTA 4 and Halo 3 ODST. And that's Billy Ray Gallion as Retro. This is his third credited role. He also goes on to play Randy Nations on 5 episodes of Lost. That's a Chris Carter-ass name.
Yeah, it is.
Also on the new Hawaii Five-0, The Young and the Restless, Castle, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and is working and just being that kind of handsome around TV. That is Constance Zimmer as Phoebe, who Stell recognized from Unreal.
Mm-hmm. Unreal, which I had to watch the first season in a TV class that I took in college. The first season is so fucking good, but every review and every person who's ever watched it was like, every other season is insane and not a fun way. So just have the joy from watching the first season. It's Unreal is about the producers of a Bachelorette style show, and the woman who plays Phoebe is the like head bitch in charge who has like no fucking morals. And like it's a messed up show, but it's really good. But she still has that haircut. It's just the haircut she has. Weird.
That's how Stella got who that was right away. Her credits list is interesting because with a lot of these TV guest actors, you'll see them maybe do just like one episode of each show or like 2 to 3 episodes spread years apart in different ones. She does runs of like 5 and 6 episodes as the same character in a bunch of different shows.
Interesting.
Shows like The Fighting Fitzgerald, Good Morning Miami, Joan of Arcadia, Injustice, IN space Justice, as well as 23 episodes of Boston Legal as Claire Sims.
She has a good like lawyer vibe.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Dana Gordon on Entourage. That character's name is Quinn King on Unreal.
Quinn King.
Alana Cahill on Grey's Anatomy. Rosalind Price on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., voicing Strongarm on Transformers, Robots in Disguise, and Skinny Gina on BoJack Horseman. Janine Storsky on House of Cards, Claudia on Shameless, and like much, much more. She's still working now. So
She's a good actress.
I've seen her in so many places, and I didn't realize that was all the same person. So I love doing this shit. Mm-hmm. That's Jimmy Marsh's Ivan Martinez. He was Kyle in Brainscan, Roy on Reunited, and a few other guest TV performances. And that brings us to Krista Allen as Jade Blue Afterglow / Maitreya.
What's your real name? That is my real name.
That's another, like, Dana Scully's being a fucking idiot and, like, her flaws getting in the way of her job. I think Stella mentioned a couple of episodes, like, yes, the character of Dana Scully is seen as this, like, very, very feminist and very forward-thinking person.
And is in many ways.
But is also a very real and flawed person on the show.
Yeah.
So, to Erin's point earlier, Chris Carter later noted that the hardest part of this episode was finding a suitable actress to play Maitreya. Krista actually was seen early in the audition process, and then they went to horror B-movies, direct-to-video, you know, adult entertainment, looking for this right person with this right feel. Apparently, when Krista auditioned, she had... Ooh, what was the word that was used? She had a wholesome quality when she read that Chris Carter was definitely not looking for this character. However, when they approached her again for it, she was a lot more enthusiastic about the role and was like ready to embody it. And they gave it to her, and like sometimes you just need to find an actor.
She's really good job.
Nails it, absolutely. Before this, she was in a bunch of sci-fi romantic comedies, the Emmanuelle series. It's funny because I remember those as like really late night Showtime flicks. I have to go back to them now because I never knew what they are. I thought they were just
fun.
I thought they were just softcore things, but she's the world's most erotic woman and interacts with these aliens who come to Earth thinking about sex. They made a few
Margaret
of these.
Arment shit.
They made a few of these movies, so I might need to go revisit them. Also, of course, lengthy runs on Days of Our Lives and more recently The Bold and the Beautiful. Fits right in soaps. Also film roles in Liar Liar, Anger Management, and more. Also Baywatch, What About Brian? A lot of guest TV and short films. Also does some stand-up, and at the time that her bio was written by her or someone else, she had a beagle who she really loved. That's great. That brings me to the end of casting. I got through this whole episode without mentioning Supernatural.
Wow.
Congratulations. I had it all ready to look up.
I saw it.
Man. That might be the first time.
First time and probably the last.
Yeah.
Sorry, Bobby. Supernatural is always going to be there to
Yeah, because there's what, like 600 episodes?
like 300 and something.
That's too many.
Anyways, if you die in the game, you wake up covered in weird green goo. Bye.
Now time for our overall thoughts.
All right.
That's entertainment.
Both of these episodes were fun.
That's entertainment.
They're fun in totally different ways, and I think...
There's some like weird bondage in both of them.
Yep, there's weird bondage in both
There's
of them.
some light sexism.
There's electroshock control in both of them, which is sort of weird.
Oh yeah, because if you die in the game, then you like get volted and you can't get back up.
Yep, exactly.
Interesting.
Yes. Also, there were lots of people witnessing just straight murders in both of these episodes.
Just being like, okay.
Well, I'll just witness that murder. Time to go on with my life.
What we do.
Yep. Yeah, I like both of these.
Also, they both feature a small little guy trying to make his way in the world, like Chekhov and Froelich.
I'm the littlest one.
He's like, this is my computer. Yeah, I mean, they're both about games, but just in a different way, right? One's about video game, and one's the gladiators, but they also are games of survival.
Yes, absolutely. They turn deadly.
And teamwork.
Yes, absolutely. Good observation. They are about
Thank
team.
you.
It's nice.
So for the fan questionnaire, as a fan, how would you say this episode holds up compared to the others that you've seen?
Weirdly, honestly, pretty well. Like, yeah, I know it's like super well spoofed, and it's not like great in all ways, but honestly, like, you get to see a lot of the crew. You get to see like individual moments from all of them. Everyone is portrayed in this like very competent light again. Like, you get to see these cross interactions that you don't get to see a lot, which I found really cool and fun. Again, I wouldn't like. I'm glad we didn't watch this in season 1 or even season 2 of Extracts. I'm glad I have all this like context about who this crew is.
Yeah, because if you didn't know, you'd be like, "What the
What
fuck
is
are
happening?"
these people?"
Yeah, exactly.
They're all like a little dialed up, and
Yeah.
like Shatner is really Shatnering almost too much, but like not. It doesn't cross the like line for me, but I know it does for some people.
Yeah, I'm surprised by how much I think this holds up to the rest of them, because knowing how much people don't like it, I thought it was going to be a lot
That's another way that
worse.
these tie together.
Yes, they're better than people tell you that they are. Both of them.
When I was rewatching Gamesters, I was like, I mean, this isn't good, but I remember this being way worse.
Yeah.
I must have gotten like a brainworm. I think for me, I think it holds up. Like, everybody's in character. We get the lone gunman. It totally makes sense that the lone gunmen were like, yeah, we invested in this company.
Yeah.
Like, they obviously want to be a part of that. The interpersonal relationships made sense. Like, even though Scully was like kind of like a gatekeepy bitch, like, it also was in character for her, and she does go through like a little bit of growth about it. Mulder is very funny in it. Like, is it a dumb concept? Yeah, but it's executed well, and it's fun, and X-Files fans are buttholes.
Yeah. It's definitely not even the weirdest X-Files episode.
Not even remotely.
Of the ones you've seen, it's not even the weirdest episode, I don't think.
No. What was the most Star Trek moment of the episode for you?
Kirk being whipped until his literal shirt fell off, I think. That felt very Trek. I like that he gets whipped and then the next scene he's like, I'm not wearing shirts anymore. I'm just in this weird harness.
Yeah, no, I'm just doing some bondage. It works for the sex magic I have to do.
I need my nipples to be actually exposed. You know, that's where the sex magic comes from. That's why I have to
It all
press up
comes from the nipples.
just secreting pheromones.
Oh my god. I hate it.
What's the most X-Files episode or moment of this episode?
There are so many. There really are.
That's the right answer.
My gut instinct is not even the like most obvious one, but I loved the moment where everybody was fangirling over, what was his name?
Daryl Musashi.
Daryl Musashi. And then like Mulder was like, Daryl Musashi. And he like said it in a way that seemed like he was like making fun of him, but you were like, you know who this dude is.
Yeah.
You are fangirling. You're like trying to cover it.
Yes.
But also like the fact that like the lone gunman get trapped and he's like, oh, I have to go save them. I've been waiting to get into this game the whole time. Any excuse. Yeah, there's a lot, but those are the two that jumped to my head.
The one that always stands out to me is that he has this whole conversation with Scully about the armor, and then it's like, oh, by the way, Daryl Musashi's been decapitated. His body's in the hallway. They were literally just waiting for me to tell you this.
Yeah, they were waiting for my signal. Are you shipping anybody in this episode?
Yeah, am I shipping anybody?
It's just like a rare pair of ship made just for you.
Legitimately
And
just
your
for me.
Weird pitchfork polyamory or whatever.
Yes, we have such good. We have Scotty and Spock, and we've got great Bones and not Scotty, drinking buddy energy, but not like I don't want them to kiss. I'm not into that. Maybe they get drunk and kiss once, but that's it. And Bones and Spock, I love their like catty jawing. I loved that line. I wrote it down. The first time you've ever asked me for anything, and it has to be an occasion like this.
Which is not even true.
No, it's not. It's absolutely not.
It's 100% not true.
Spock saying, I welcome your company. Ooh, hot. Are you going to make
Yeah,
out
you
on
were
the
like,
bridge?
whoa.
I liked this. Flirting. I loved Scotty like looking on in the background like, ooh, they're flirting.
I love that moment where Spock says something like, oh, we have to hope. And Bones is like, hope? Isn't that like a human emotion? And Spock says, constant exposure does result in a degree of contamination. And
Scotty's just like,
oh, sick burn! So ridiculous.
So yes, I am shipping that. Are you shipping anyone in this episode?
Not like wildly shipping Mulder and Scully in this, but they did have like, you know, married couple arguing about the same thing. Also, when they like are found and they're all like covered in goo and their hair is all fucked up, and obviously they just like survived the game, but it does have big like we were found in the closet energy.
Yes. Yes.
Is this a fuck, fine, or a flop?
Fuck minus? I don't know. I think it's
you
better
love
than,
a fuck minus
because it's better than fine. But would you call this a fuck?
I
don't
would call
think
this
so.
a fine.
See, I think it's a little better than just like a plain fine. Fine plus?
Whatever, it's your rating. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah, I think fine plus.
I think fuck minus.
I mean, that's fair. It's a weird episode.
Yeah, it's not like, it doesn't like blow my socks off, but I think it's very good.
Right. This
And
is one
it's
that's
silly.
like, I seek out and rewatch this one because
Yeah.
it's very funny.
It's a good put it on and like just not have to deal with anything episode.
Yes, absolutely. Not a lot of big themes. You're not like grappling about the legacy of slavery or whatever. It's just like, all right.
Video games.
Video games in the early 2000s.
All right, that's it.
All right, that's it. You can find us on the internet. You can follow us at NYD Productions on Twitter, if it still exists when this airs, and interact with the show using the hashtag XTRXPod. You can find me at NYD Urgency on Instagram.
You can find me playing violins while this Titanic sings on Twitter at Stella_Cheeks.
And you can find me on Steam and PlayStation 5 as a perturbed turtle. Who knows what's going to happen? Who knows?
Who knows? You can also email us at xtrxpod@gmail.com with questions or comments. There are truly an endless amount of idiot being captured by aliens and must be rescued by other idiots fix, if that's what you're into. Also, the aforementioned Kirk getting fucked by a tentacle monster as an anniversary gift from McCoy. Truly, if by some chance the person who wrote that is out there, God bless. Truly, I've read this fic a lot of times.
We would like an interview.
God bless.
We would like an interview.
God bless.
And if you want access to our bonkers episode notes, including watch along, access to our company Discord, where we do things like book clubs and conversations and meme trading and fic trading, and a bunch of other extra audio and stuff like that, you could look into maybe kicking us some money every month on Patreon. You go to patreon.com/NYD Productions, where you can get all of that and more for at least $1. Thank you.
And don't forget to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and to tell your friends. We find that this nerdy shit, it's better when it's shared.
We'll see you next episode for Treat Yourself, Part 2. In the meantime,
believe boldly.
Seek truth.
Ship proudly.
X-Trex is created and written by Stella Cheeks, Erin Cline, and Bobby Hoffman, and produced by Bobby Hoffman for NYD Productions. Our show theme is Alien Spy by Ionix, and our show art was made by Jonathan Curtis.
Dudes! Agent Mulder, what's up, well, man? Bella! Where the hell have you been, Luca?